Hello.
Hello, Prime Minister.
Hey, Jeff. Hi, Shelley.
Hello.
So glad to be seeing your class.
We are
Excellent.
so thrilled to see you.
Susan, I think you're kicking things off, or Jeff,
Yes.
you're kicking things off.
Yeah, so I'm delighted to do that. Prime Minister, welcome to my constituency of Halifax West and to Bedford. Now, you've been to Bedford before in person, and we all wish you could be with us in person again, but that's not possible right now. So we're thrilled that you could come and visit Rocky Lake Elementary, the home of the Ravens, by the way. It's a brand new school, and they've actually had some experiences where they actually rescued a raven and took it to somebody who could look after it for a bit and nurse it back to health, and then set it. So Ravens, I think, is an excellent name for their school teams and their students. But I think you'll find these are terrific, very intelligent young people with lots of interest questions. So now it's my great pleasure to school principal, Ms. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. Good afternoon, Prime Minister Trudeau, Honorable Regan, Team Bembridge. I would the Prime Minister to Lake Elementary School. This is an exciting moment for all of us here at RLE. This school year has definitely been a unique one, and every student is becoming a part of history by living and learning through a global pandemic. Our students have taken on real-world issues in a positive, solution-focused way and have leaned into each problem with determination and perseverance. They have shown each day that we are wired to do hard things. Prime Minister Trudeau, thank you for being here with us today. It's my privilege to introduce to you a fantastic group of young leaders and their teacher, Miss Bembridge.
Thank you, Ms. Casey, Prime Minister Trudeau, Honorable Regan, and all the team at the Prime Minister's office and Team Bembridge. I welcome you to one of many. This is the reality of online teaching.
Yeah, at least you're not muted, so that's good.
Happens. Can you hear me now? So yes, I welcome you to one of the last virtual meetings for 2021. This is a fabulous opportunity for Team Bembridge to showcase not only some of their totally awesome public speaking skills and worldly perspective, but also how tech savvy they've become communicating and managing themselves virtually in our new reality. Bembridge is excited to welcome you in preparing some questions, and we are so excited this opportunity to meet with you virtually, and I welcome JK and Nathan to do our land acknowledgement.
Hello, my name is JK.
And my name is Nathan.
We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people.
Today is National Indigenous Peoples Day. Today, we recognize and honor the achievements, history, and rich cultures of Indigenous peoples across our country. It is through learning and understanding the history in Canada that we will be able to move forward in true partnership to build a better country.
Thank you, Nathan and Jake. I'm next going to introduce and welcome my co-moderator for this afternoon's virtual visit, Willow. And Willow and I are sharing technology in an effort to be kind to the trees and the environment. So here you go, Willow.
Thank you. So, hi, my name is Willow, and as today's co-moderator, I'll be calling on my classmates throughout our visit, Prime Minister Trudeau.
Yeah, no, so I just wanted to, before we get too into it, say a couple of words, but I won't keep it long because I'm really looking forward to hearing all of your questions and all of your interventions. First of all, I want to recognize that I am on the traditional unceded lands of the Algonquin people here in Ottawa. We recognize them as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. And I want to thank you, both JK and Nathan, for recognizing Mi'kma'ki, and also Nathan for highlighting that today is National Indigenous Peoples Day. It's an important day, the longest summer solstice, one in which we have to remember people who've lived on this land for thousands upon years, and who the first settlers and immigrants figure out how to thrive in a place that was cold and they are extraordinarily important, not just on this day, but every day that we strive towards recognition and reconciliation with them to repair the partnerships that we and our settler ancestors broke over many centuries. We have lots of work to do, and it's really important for all of us that we be part of it. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Quite frankly, spending time in classrooms in person, but also virtually, is one of my favorite things in the world. You may have known I used to be a teacher, and there is actually no such thing as used to be a teacher. Once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher, whatever your job description actually is. So anytime I get to spend a little time with young people like you, who I know Mrs. Bembridge has worked really, really hard to prepare for this. I'm looking forward to all your great questions, and I'm looking forward to learning from you as well, because that's something that is the big secret for me of why I spend as much time with young people, because you are all giving me new ways of thinking and highlighting new things to think about that is so important if I'm going to do my job right. So thank you all for being here.
So I'm going to start with the first question. I like to make sure everyone feels safe and included at my school. How can we make other people immigrating to Canada feel safe and make Canada an open place so people will continue to come to our country? Prime Minister Trudeau.
Listen, that is a really, really great question, Willow, because all of us need to feel safe. All of us need to feel respected and indeed valued wherever we are. Human beings are social animals, meaning we need other people. And for a long time, the way humans succeeded was by making very clear distinctions between who is us and who is them. And that's why you got, so many different wars around the world as people are, in fights or in conflicts over the past centuries with people who are different. Maybe they speak a different language, maybe they have a different skin color, or come from a different religion or culture. And one of the things that Canada has been able to figure out, not perfectly, but better than a lot of other countries, is how to make sure that regardless of your language, your background, your story, your personal perspectives on the world, you can feel like you are a full Canadian, that you are welcome here. And that is one of the reasons why we've been so successful as a country, is because people have come from all around the world, from all different cultures and stories and backgrounds, and realize that here is a place where our families can live in safety and build a future for themselves and for their communities. And a big piece of that is learning how to respect each other, learning how to see differences, not as something that challenges us or is bad for us, but something that gives us an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to discover different perspectives, to find new cultures, new food, new songs and dance and performance, but also new ways of thinking. If someone comes from the countryside to live in a big city, they'll bring a different perspective than someone who's grown up in a city all their life. Similarly, someone who lives on the other side of the world or comes from a culture that was started in a very different part of the world, they'll have things to add to our culture. And understanding that the fundamental element of realizing that everyone has value, that everyone has things to say, and everyone basically wants the same things, We want to matter to our friends and our community. We want to be able to contribute to our friends and our community, and we want to be able to, succeed and work hard and be respected, and live in a safe and peaceful place where there's fresh air and clean water and all these things. Everyone wants that, and that's where remembering that's what makes us, for all our differences, more similar to each other is the way not do a better job of welcoming people in, as we need to continue to, but we actually do a better job of succeeding once they're here. Thank you, Willow.
Thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau. So, Andrew, can we please hear your question? Thank you.
All right, so my question is, how are we as a country going to move forward after COVID? And what will the federal government and provincial governments do to help people recover from COVID?
That's a great question, Andrew. Obviously, COVID has been the reality for all of us for the past year and a half, and it's really been tough on everything and everyone. I mean, a lot of things got shut down. A lot of people had to put pause on their jobs or even lost their jobs, but we're now getting out of it. And that's very, very exciting. It won't be gone from the world for another many years. But in Canada, we're going to get it under control with vaccinations and with careful measures that will continue. So now's the time to get things going again. And part of making sure we're getting to this place where things can get going well, part of it was the things that we had to do a year and a half ago. Make sure, for example, that you could all continue to go to school, even virtually and sometimes in person, depending on the place across the country. The people who lost their jobs because nobody was going to restaurants anymore still were able to pay their rent and buy groceries and support their families because they were working as cooks or servers in restaurants. Different businesses or industries that were affected by COVID had the support. So we did a lot of job as a government that people were supported through COVID, and not just because it was the right, because when people make it pay, it's all the much easier to get again. If you think of a business that had to close, a restaurant that had to close because of COVID, well, it's much better to close and don't completely shut down and disappear, because to reopen, people who used to work there and said, come on back in, we're starting to make pizzas again, and they can get going in a few weeks. But if the restaurant actually disappeared, and they have to start a whole new restaurant and order the new equipment and find a new place to be and all those sorts of things, it takes a lot longer. So being able to start things quickly and well came from what we're doing. But the other thing is, as we move forward, we have to think we're going to be doing things differently. There'll probably be a lot more business meetings by Zoom than people having to fly to Toronto for an afternoon to do work like that. There's still going to be, we're all looking forward to getting back to lots of in-person stuff, but there will be times where everybody knows how to use Zoom now, so we'll be able to do that. So there's ways we're going to be able to build back better, that will, in being more environmentally responsible, being smarter about how we include everyone. And those are the things that we're working on very, very hard, both the provincial government and the federal government working together. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, Drew. Now we'll be moving to Sarah's question.
Thank you, Willow. I feel like that the Asian hate has been really bad lately because of how are you dealing with all the Asian hate?
That's tough things. There's lots of tough things about COVID, including all the family members of so many people away to COVID, but very difficult for a whole bunch of people, and that community arise in sometimes in fear and intolerance. And we've seen an increase in acts of hate towards each other. Now, at the same time as Canadians have been amazing at being there for each other, helping each other out, our frontline health workers, neighbors helping neighbors, young people out to deliver groceries to grandparents and leaving them on the deck, on the porch, so they don't have to go out. There have been great stories. There also, unfortunately, have been lots of examples increase in intolerance and hatred against Black Canadians, against Islamic Canadians, against Jewish Canadians, a whole range of things. But the anti-Asian we've seen has really increased related because this is a virus that started in China. There's a lot of people who from the very beginning have been more about Chinese Canadians spreading the virus, which is ridiculous and totally not true. But and blame associated with that. So we all need to be thoughtful about that to, first of all, not have any of those feelings. But secondly, we all need to make sure we are standing up and pushing back against expressing hatred. If you just leave it up to the person who's being attacked or insulted to respond, it's not nearly as if everyone around them is also saying, no, 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 this is my friend. I'm an ally. I'm going to stand up because what is wrong. And that's how we build a better country that actually understands each other, and how we push back hatred against all the various isms that are out there, whether it's racism or sexism or what have you. We all need to recognize that if something's not okay, we all have a responsibility to say that, to push back, and to help educate people into understanding why that's the wrong thing to say, and that they shouldn't be acting or saying those things anymore. That's something we can all do together, and I know it's something that that Rocky Lake takes very seriously as a school.
Thank you, Sarah. Now we will be moving on to Will's question.
Okay, how have you kept up with the new science from COVID-19, and do you have any tips for how Canadians can keep up with all the change?
Well, that's a really great question, because this has been a global crisis that's all about science. It has been a medical issue, a virus that got us into it, but it's also science with vaccines that are getting us out of it. And I think all of you will have seen your parents and your teachers and everyone else looking very carefully at, case numbers and the curve, and flattening the curve and saying, okay, wear masks or stay 6 feet apart, or, don't travel or do this or don't do that. All those different things are based on science. And one of the challenges is, when you're talking about a new situation like this one, the science isn't always absolutely clear. There needs to be, at the same time, research and figuring things out. So something that someone might say, the best thing to do is this. A few weeks later, they say, actually, we've seen more research, and the best thing to do is actually this. And that can be really, really confusing, because science is supposed to be, well, this is a fact and this is wrong. But the facts evolve, and our understanding of the facts evolve. And it doesn't mean that opinion is the same as science. It means that science is something that you need to be open to following what the latest reflection is, the latest studies, the latest research is showing you. And that's where I think all of us have had a crash course in science as citizens over the past while. But Canadians, I think we're really lucky in this country, because in general, Canadians are understanding how important science is, and people listen to doctors, and they listen to experts, and they listen to scientists who are saying, this is the safe thing to do, this is the better thing to do, and we're going to keep doing that. And that's why we're getting so many people to put their hands up and get vaccinated, which is wonderful, because there are places in the world trusting science and therefore are not getting much, and COVID's going to last a lot than it will in Canada, where people are really enthusiastic getting vaccinated. And I can tell you that even all of you hopefully will be able to get vaccinated in the coming months, because they're continuing to expand, and they're doing more studies on kids under 12 to be able to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to get vaccinated. So hopefully in time for next year's school year, we'll all be better off.
Thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau and Will. We will now have Chloe telling her question.
I bet being a Prime Minister is a challenging job. Can you give us some advice for dealing with challenges that you wish you had learned sooner?
Oh boy. One of the things that I still struggle with as Prime Minister is there's a difference between something being urgent and something being important. There's all sorts of things that come at us right away. Like your friend sends you a text message and says, hey, well, sometimes punch on that, but it's not actually that important. If you're busy trying to do your homework and something comes in that seems urgent, knowing when to respond to something quick, things that are really important is me. And the other one is how I've learned how to learn. Prime Minister needs to know so many different things about so many different subjects that if you don't have a way of absorbing and making sense of all that information, you're going to get easily. And a lot of us go through memorization as a way of doing things, whether it's bed memorations or whatever the order of the planets from Mercury to Venus to Earth all the way out. And memorization has its clearly for times tables. But what I found is understanding something, understanding how it fits into everything else is the most important thing. If you can figure out how to attach a new bit of knowledge to something that you already knew, you don't have to remember it because you understand it. And that's why the biggest thing for me was always, if I was in class and the teacher said something and bam, my hand would go up almost first because I was never so worried about, oh my God, if I don't understand, then everyone will think I'm silly. What you understood was if I didn't understand, a few other kids in the class who didn't understand something either, and there would be a whole bunch of us that were actually learning the thing we needed to learn. So I got really comfortable of saying, wait, I didn't understand, explain it so that I could actually understand things and not just memorize them. Through life, you're going to be learning many different things, not just in school, but through the rest of your lives. And the more you can focus on really trying to understand something, the better off you're going to be for whatever job you choose to do later in life. But thank you, Chloe, for the great question.
Thank you, Chloe and Prime Minister Trudeau. Next person we will have a question, giving you a question, is going to be Mateen.
Hello. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to say thanks for joining us. And yeah. So apart from the pandemic, what are the greatest challenges that you have had to face in Canada compared to those that your father faced during his time as Prime Minister?
Ooh, great question, Mateen. Some of the challenges remain very similar to the ones in my dad's time, whether it's around making sure you're growing in a where everyone gets good jobs and there's opportunities for everyone, are not suffering too much from homelessness or poverty. So those challenges continue. But I think one of the big differences is the challenge of climate change. My dad was really focused on protecting the planet 50 years ago. But the way to protect the planet 50 years ago was seen to be to create lots of national parks where you could have places where people would go and nature would be wild and animals were protected from being hunted. And there was sort of an idea that, if you made parks and you tried to fight pollution a little bit, then you were protecting the planet. Nobody understood that the impacts of the choices we make, the cars we drive and the products we choose to buy and the food we eat, all have impacts on the state of the planet. And for many, many decades, human beings were doing things that weren't really good for the planet. We're putting pollution into the oceans. We're putting pollution into the atmosphere, and that's now caught up with us in a very, very real way. So the biggest thing that I'm dealing with now is how to make sure, not that we stop everything so we can protect the planet, because we can't stop everything. People are still going to need to get to and from work and have jobs and buy things and eat food from around the world and have a quality of life that we've gotten used to today. But we have to do all those things in a way that endanger the planet and doesn't make it in future generations to be able to have this kind of life that we have. And that's a big shift, because people have never had to think about, the planet, I'm affecting the planet. We always imagine ourselves to be so small that what does it really matter if you put that can into the recycling bin or into the garbage, or just throw it down out into the street? When there's only a few people on the planet, it doesn't really matter. But there's so many of us now that it does matter. And that shift is not even so much a shift in the things we do, although of course it is, but more fundamentally, it's a shift in the way we think about the things we do, about the way we think about the consequences of every single action we take. And that is a really big change in habits, in thoughts, in actions, that it's not just a government that can do it. It has to be a government and every family, every citizen, every worker, every other organization, community, and level of government. That's the biggest challenge that my father didn't have to grapple with, that we are busy working hard on, and have done a lot of really good things on, like making sure that pollution isn't free anywhere in the country anymore. That's a big one. But there's lots more we've done as well. But thank you, Mateen. Great question.
Thank you, Mr. Trudeau. Or not Mr. Trudeau, I'm so sorry, Prime Minister Trudeau.
You can call me Mr. Trudeau, don't worry about it.
Gia is next.
I'm an immigrant that immigrated during the pandemic. How is Canada welcoming immigrants during the COVID pandemic?
Well, first of all, Gia, welcome to Canada. It is wonderful to have you with us, because that's what has built Canada. Families coming to this country from places around the world and getting involved in not just building a better life for themselves, but building a better life for all Canadians by your creativity, by your hard work, by your contributions. So thank you. It's not easy. Moving. I mean, for me, when I was a kid, I moved from Ottawa to Montreal, and that was traumatic, even though it was just a 2-hour drive away. So changing countries, changing cultures, changing entirely your group of friends, and is really, really tough. So first of all, thank you for being brave, for being strong, and heading into the unknown like this. The most important thing for me is to make sure that you understand how much we are happy you are here, how much it matters to Canada and to Canadians that we continue to welcome people from all around the world who want to come and build a better life for themselves here, and help us understand better the rest of the world, and help us build solutions that maybe can eventually help your home country as well, if there's a need for that. That it builds on the interconnectedness of our world to be able to see people who are different and learn from people who are different. And that is the big thing. But it's also really tough. I mean, there are differences in language, differences in the way things are done, differences of things that you'd take for granted back home that you have to relearn here. And that's why we need to make sure that we're giving you support. We're making sure that you are able to flourish and become the full Gia that you actually would ever be in any circumstance, and that you can achieve that here in Canada. And that's teamwork from all Canadians to make sure that we're there for you in the tough times, and that we're cheering for you in the great times, and that we all know that for any one of us to succeed, all of us has to have a really good chance at success. And quite frankly, immigrating to Canada during this COVID crisis can't have been easy. I'm sure there was lots of things you would have wanted to do when you first got to Canada that you weren't able to do. But hopefully we'll be able to get doing all those things in the coming years.
Thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau.
Thank you.
Our next question will be from Finley.
Okay. So my question for you, Mr. Trudeau, is how has the pandemic affected your work in a positive and negative way? Because for me, it affected me negatively because I couldn't see my friends and I had to wear a mask, but positively because I made new friends because I couldn't hang out with other people. How's it affected you?
Okay, I'm going to just recap that a little bit because that was a little
most
tough.
of it.
So I think what Finley was wondering about is how has the pandemic affected your work both positively and negatively? And what Finley was sharing is that he sees both the positive and the negative. And, certainly he's made friends that he wouldn't necessarily have been friends with because of our bubbles. And so he was just wondering what lessons you've learned from like the positive things that you've seen in your job shifting.
Listen, that's a great question, and one we're all sort of struggling with. Obviously, this pandemic has been a huge negative. The Canadians who've gotten sick, the families who've lost loved ones, the businesses that we've lost, the harm that it's done to our communities and our society. It's a negative. We never would have chosen to go through this. But it's also human nature to try and say, okay, even in the worst experience, are there things that we can learn? Are there things that we can do better? Are there things that we can suddenly start to appreciate that we took for granted before? And there's a lot of that going on. First of all, really tangibly, if I had wanted to come last year, as Jeff has been inviting me for a long time to come to spend some time with kids in his riding, it would have required me to come out on a trip to Halifax. Doing a whole bunch of different things, seeing the mayor, doing this meeting, doing that meeting, everything. And maybe we could have fit in time to come see the school in person, and it would have been wonderful, but maybe not at the same time. But being able to be here like now, if I had said 2 years ago, yeah, Jeff, I can come visit the school, but it's going to have to be a virtual meeting. We'll do it by Zoom. You guys would have said, yeah, no, we're not. Wait, what do you think this is? Star Trek or the science fiction? We don't have setups for that. Nobody does that stuff. But now we all have it. We're all completely used to it. So I can go, like I just had a great meeting with our national Indigenous MPs for Indigenous Day, about a half an hour before coming on to see you guys. And then this afternoon, I'm going to have a meeting with someone else from out west, and not things I ever would have been able to do in one day. So being able to go from one part of the country to the other and meet with people is a massive plus. But the fact that means I can't actually ever for the past year and a half see people in person, read their body language, make eye contact with people, really sucks. Because I'm a person who loves people. I love to engage with people. I like to shake people's hands. I like to give them hugs. I like to have fun, laugh, be casual. And Zoom is very intense, and you're staring at a screen, and you can't actually make eye contact, because if I'm looking into your eyes, you're actually not looking into my eyes. If I'm looking into your eyes to the camera, I can't see your eyes. So we don't actually fit in something that is really fundamental for humans, which is being able to read each other's faces and expressions at the same time, not to mention being covered by masks. So there are pluses and minuses. The other thing is development of technologies, of doing things differently, is transforming not just Zoom, but online shopping and delivery of food and different ways of doing things that we're probably coming in the coming years anyway, but have been massively accelerated because of this. So that's a big plus as well. So there's all sorts of things that have changed. But at the same time, at Christmas time, which is my birthday as well, I guess I'm December 25th, it's a time where we have nonstop, parties with friends, have parties with coworkers, gathering family members from all across the country. And it's a nice time to come together. This Christmas, of course, we couldn't do any of that as a family. What did we do? Well, we spent all our time really together. Just the small group of people who have been with each other all the time through the pandemic. But it was a nice little pause, or I know next year we'll go back to the extended family. But this was a moment really to spend time with the people who are closest to you and the people who love the most and who love you the most. So there are things that we've learned that were pluses, even though, no question about it, if we could have done without the pandemic, we would have. And we're going to try and make sure that the next one is as minimized as possible. But that's a great question, Finley. Thank you so much.
Person that's asking the next question will be Cloud. Sorry.
Being a prime minister seems really hard. What's the most stressful thing about being a prime minister and why?
Oh, thank you, Cloud, for your great question. Yeah, being a prime minister is hard. There's no question about it. But the hardest thing about it is that I can't do everything at the same time. There is so much to do. And fortunately, I have a great team of ministers and MPs and leaders like Jeff Regan around me who are helping share the burden and helping us move forward. But getting that balance right between what I'm doing and why I'm doing it is really important, because ultimately, if I'm doing this job, it's because I believe I can build a better world, and I believe I can, create better opportunities for my kids and for all their friends and all their community. But doing this job often takes me away from my family. Right now, for example, I'm in the middle of a 2-week quarantine because I had to go over to Europe to meet with other world leaders to talk about how we were going to end the pandemic and how we're going to keep people safe as we move forward. And I really needed to go, but because I went, I came back, and now I have to spend 2 weeks without seeing my kids at all, without seeing Sophie, my wife, without even going outside of the house and seeing any friends or going into work. Everything's by Zoom. And that's really tough, particularly because over the past year and a half, every single day, I was seeing my kids. I wasn't traveling as much, and I was close. The family got really, really close in ways that wasn't. And then all of a sudden, bam, I'm sitting here all alone. So it's the personal side of things that is really the toughest. Getting that balance right of working really hard and doing the right things, but also remembering what matters in my day, which is love and family and playing and having fun, and remembering that it's not work all these years, and then someday when I retire, I'll have fun. It's like, no, if I'm not having fun every day, I'm not actually doing as good a job as I should have than if you give yourself time to play a bit, to work a bit, to sing, to dance, to have fun and work seriously. But that's a wonderful question, Cloud. Thank you so much.
So, thank you. Our next question will be from Aiden.
This year we've learned about the importance of set learning targets for ourselves. How is goal setting an important part of your life?
Okay, so I'm just going to say that over again because I know the Wi-Fi connection here is a little glitchy. And so what Aiden had asked about was, he said that this year we've focused a lot on setting learning targets for ourselves. And he was just wondering how goal setting has been an important part of your life.
Oh, what a great question. First of all, I've got bad news for you all. You think that you're stuck in school and learning for, you've been in for about 6 years. You've maybe got another 6, maybe another 8, 10 years, depending on what you do in university. And then you get to be an adult and you put all that challenge of learning behind you. Well, the bad news is the learning never stops. No matter what your job is going to be later in life, you're always going to need to learn new ways of doing it. New challenges are going to come up that you're going to have to equip yourself for. But you're also going to want to expand your own self. You're going to want to, learn, new skills, learn to do different things, learn to play different sports, learn to play different musical instruments. You're going to learn a lot about people. You're going to learn to be a parent, most of you. You're going to, there's always things to learn. So you're absolutely right, Aidan, that setting goals and targets and sticking with them is really, really important, and achievable ones as well. I think it's easy for someone to say, like a New Year's resolution, I'm going to do this and never do it again, or I'm going to not do this, or I'm going to learn how to do. No, take it in bite-sized chunks. Yes, be ambitious, but know that it takes time to learn something new. It takes time to get better at something. So be patient with yourself, and be encouraging, and allow for things to unfold carefully. Every single day, I learn new things about Canada, and the work that I'm doing. And I always sort of feel that the day I stop learning about things is the day I have to stop doing this job. If you think you know everything, you don't. And as soon as you start thinking you do, you probably need to switch things up pretty meaningfully. So just know that ongoing learning, that new training on new things that you want to do is going to be a part of your life for the foreseeable future.
Thank you. The next question will be from Abby.
How do you think jobs when we graduate will look different in Canada?
Jobs are changing. There's no question about it. And things are changing in ways that are sometimes surprising, but also reasonably predictable. One of the things that's changing everything is technology, automation. There are now robots that do a lot of the work of building things, of making cars, of doing the hard work of farming. Machines take over so many of the jobs that we used to have, and that's a good thing, because first of all, it frees up more time for individuals to have more free time. Hundreds of years ago, people had to wake up in the morning and work straight until sundown, just about every day of the week, just so they could feed their family. We now have to work less, and we work smarter. We're using our brains more than just our pure muscles. But where we still need our skills, our abilities, is in those jobs that combine both brains and physical abilities, and often creativity. We're getting a lot more art. We're getting a lot more creative expressions of feelings, things that robots and machines can't do. We're getting a lot more people who are adjusting. See, if you used to have a factory that had 100 people, screwing in screws on a different assembly line, and now you just have 3 different robots or machines that do the same things, you still need 1 or 2 people to program those robots, to build those robots, to make sure that they can fix them when they break down. And those 1 or 2 people get paid a lot better and work in a lot better situations than all the people who are working on that assembly line 50 years ago. So the world of work is changing, and the things that are going to make sure that you're all going to be successful in the future is, can you tell a story? Can you inspire someone? Can you take really different ideas and try to put them together? Can you learn how to do new things? How can you use technology, not in a way that technology uses you, but you can use technology? Are you learning how to code? Do you know what an algorithm is? Like, these are the things of how we think of the building blocks, because we're going to be surrounded by computers and technology for a long time. But our ability to be creative in how we use them, to learn how to make best use of all these things that are assisting us, is going to be totally different. Now, if you imagined a time in which almost everyone, except for the king, had to work really, really hard just to stay fed in any given day and to get enough food so they could hunker down through the winter and eat, pickled turnips all winter or however they made it through. There is no time there for people to learn how to play hockey or to go to a ski resort or to go on a vacation to the beach or go visit Peggy's Cove or do anything like that because people were just focused on working. Well, technology and new ways of doing things has freed up a lot of time. So even though people work less, because they work smarter, they're doing way better than people who did a lot of really crappy jobs hundreds of years ago. And that's where it's scary to think, oh my God, the world is changing so much. These old jobs that we've always done won't exist anymore. And new jobs we haven't even thought of yet will be created. So what you need to do is make sure you're staying curious, you're staying flexible, and you're ready to learn how to do new things that come up because things move so fast that you're going to have to stay flexible and excited about the new opportunities we have. And those are the kinds of things, Abby, that will make the difference in the jobs you do in the future.
I'm just going to take over for Willow Ray now. Thank you. Thank you, Team Bembridge. I just want to say your questions never cease to amaze me. Your natural wonder never ceases to amaze me. And I am thrilled to ask you, as sad as I am to see this visit come to an end, because I know that there are many other students who had lots of other great questions, and we could probably keep you going for at least another hour, but I know you've got other things on your calendar. So I would invite you at this time to just give us your closing remarks.
No, thank you so much, Ms. Bembridge, and thank you, Ms. Casey, for welcoming us, welcoming me to amazing Rocky Lake. I tell you, I would love to spend a whole day, and not just with you guys, with all of your fellow students throughout the school, because it seems to me that the culture of the school, the way you guys are tackling big questions, and the things you're thinking about are things that I'd really love to spend some time with and learn from. So big congratulations to all the teachers and staff who are taking great care to build powerful citizens of the future who are going to challenge and shape the world in the right ways. To all of you, thank you. Thank you for taking time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for teaching me about what you're thinking about and what we need to be working on as a government. The decisions that we're making today will have an impact on you for the rest of your life. So being able to hear about the things that matter to you is really, really helpful for me. And then finally, I want to thank my friend Jeff, who got me here and gave me the opportunity to engage with you all and learn from you. And I really, really appreciate it. Willow, you did a great job in emceeing. Thank you so much. I know how stressful it can be. So thank you for stepping up. And all of you, thank you for your amazing questions, and hope to see you in person sometime in the coming months or years. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much. The future of Nova Scotia and our country is so bright.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.